Hello. My name's Sam. You're watching So Let's Sparkle with Sam, and this is my Busy Bee challenge video and also my tutorial for free motion sewing for my 2,000 subscribers. Hello. So welcome back. If you have watched these challenge videos before, and if you haven't, this is your first time, welcome, and don't forget to go and check out everybody else's. I will pop all of the playlist and links and everything underneath, and don't forget to go and check everybody's Busy Bee challenge out. Busy Bee challenges out. So this is our third challenge. So we did the first challenge, which was a pattern challenge, and I am wearing the results of my pattern challenge. So I'll pop a picture up and I'll pop the pattern number. It's a McCall's pattern and I've totally forgotten the number, and I'll pop that down below for you. But yeah, I'm wearing this top with some ready to wear dungarees because it's Sunday and I'm just chilling. And it's great for that. It has got these amazing kind of cuffs, and I'm doing a one up, one down, so you can see how you can style it out. And yeah, so that was challenge 1. Challenge 2 was the transformation challenge, and I will pop up what I made here. And I transformed a very how do I put it, disastrous project into a very wearable dress. And then this is challenge 3. So the reason that I've done it in the format that I've done today is that it's my challenge 3, but it's also a special thank you to all of you guys that have got me to over 2,000 subscribers. So thank you so much. I asked you what you would like, and it was pretty much unanimous that everybody would like a free motion tutorial. So this challenge was to do a free bag, so to make a free pattern bag, and then obviously my idea was to add some free motion embroidery to it. And I'm going to be totally honest with you here, this month has been a crazy month and I really ran out of time with kind of bag ideas. I did have a look at a few kind of different free bag options, and there was a couple that I wanted to do, but they were just going to take me too much time. So I'm afraid I went for an old faithful. I went for one that I make time and time again, and I went for one that I could do the full tutorial on and show you how to make, and one that I thought you would make time and time again and you would actually find useful. And particularly with Christmas coming up, who doesn't need a gift bag? So it's very simple. I have made a simple drawstring gift bag, but the tutorial includes not only the tutorial for the free motion, but also how to make the bag. So I hope I haven't cheated and I hope everyone's okay with that, but that's what I've done. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the bag, and then I will leave you with the tutorial. Now I did have a few technical issues, so some of it me is talking as I'm doing, and a couple of bits of it is voiceover, because I seem to lose my sound in some of them and I don't know why. So some of it is me voicing over, and some of it is with me real-time talking. So I hope that's not too confusing. And I have taken up comments, what people have said. So I have not speeded any of the kind of making up, apart from a little bit of the free motion where I show you how to go all the way around, and obviously that is a little bit speeded up, but nothing is whiz speeded, because I know some of you are not keen on that. But of course, if you know, feel free to whiz through yourself, because it is quite a long tutorial. So do you want to see the bag? I really want to show you, because I just really love this bag. So I have made, ta-da, a drawstring bag, and the free motion on it is this cute little squishy unicorn dragon fantasy creature. And he has actually got two eyes. You can see this one clearly. He has got another eye, but it's just on a darker piece of the patch. But in the light, because I've used metallic green, you can see it a little bit better. And then on the back, I've put a little sticker and it says, please look after me and yourself too. And then it's all lined with this dragon lining. And then, yeah, you cinch it together. I've popped some little, I think they look like dragon eggs. So I pop those on. And there you go. A little bag. So yeah, so I'm going to leave you now with the tutorial for the bag and for the free motion. I hope you enjoy it. If you do love these kinds of videos, don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you can. That would be great because it really helps out my channel. Costs you nothing, really helps me out. So here you go. Here's my tutorial. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to think about what our free motion design is going to look like on our bag. So I've done a little bit of sketching and I've come up with this little fella, and I thought he looked quite nice, fun. And the reason that I went for something like this is that there was enough big spaces, but also enough detail, because you need a bit of both for your free motion. Okay, now free motion, you know, kind of creativity and things like this, they don't happen by accident. You do kind of have to practice how things look. So I did do a couple of practice panels first, and I'll show you those. So this is the first one that I did. And as you can see, I've got a little bit of a rainbow unicorn dragon squishy going on. And then I did this one because I just wanted to see what my threads look like against colours, what the colours look like with the threads, my positioning. I'm a little bit happier with this positioning than this positioning, but I'm much happier with the way that my threads are looking on here. So it's kind of about having a practice before you get going on your finished design. So I make a lot of these. This is just calico with some interfacing on the back. And it just makes good kind of practice sheets. This is almost like my notepad, if you like, what I use to practice on. So, but to actually, so from this to the design, what you need is, I tend to use a light box, and I'll show you mine, but I'm not going to turn it on because I'll just blind you. So it's one of these, and when you turn it on, it lights up and then it makes tracing really easy. So if you're going to do a lot of this, I would suggest that that's quite a good thing to do. But if you're in a really good lit area and you've got good lighting, you should be able to do it on a white space anyway. I just find that with that, I can do it anywhere. And then you need to take your picture, and obviously you're going to put your picture on your light box. Excuse me if you can see my lights in this reflecting. And then you're going to get some of this paper, which is shiny on one side and matte on the other. And this is actually freezer paper. And when you iron it, it sticks. So it just works well for this kind of thing. And then you put this paper over your design and you just trace your outlines. So like I said, why it's important to practice is to see where your outlines are going to be and which bits you need to cut separately. So I've done the horns separate. I've done the little ear wings separate. I've done the little head horn separate. His tummy patch, his tail, but his main body I've done all as one. So you need to think about your different sections and then pop them onto some freezer paper. So if you wanted to, and you didn't want to use any heat and bond, you can just use this. You can cut these round, you can cut out your fabric pieces, and you can just free motion with these. You could perhaps use a little bit of fabric glue to glue them down, or you could just hold them and sew them, particularly if you're going to use something like felt or something like that. That is how some people do their free motioning, and that's fine. I don't. I like to use some of this, which is called Heat and Bond Light, and it's like a sticky glued paper. So what I do, let me just pop this out of the way. What I do is I put mine onto this paper. So what you have to remember with this is that because you're going to put your glue side onto the wrong side of your fabric, all of your images are going to be mirror images. So they're going to be the other way. So if any of them, you want them to be a particular way, you need to turn it round and trace it the other way to make sure that they are all facing in the right direction. So once you and as you can see, I tend to do a few of each because it's not an exact science. Sometimes I get it wrong. Sometimes I might pick a colour, I'll fuse it onto there, and then I go, oh, actually, I don't want that colour. I want this colour. I want a different colour. And so, you know, I always do more than one. So I've got that option. And then you need to think about what colours you're going to use to make your picture. So the colours of my bag panel is this lovely shiny, like it's got a gold shiny linen. And then the top of it, I've chosen this dragon scale. So I want all of my fabrics to go with this. So I don't want to get too many colours that are the same as this because it won't show up. I want to get lots of colours that are the same as this because this will make my picture pop. I hope that makes sense. So I've been through my scrap pile, as you do. Everyone's got a scrap pile, surely. And I've picked lots of fabrics that I think, obviously I'm going to use some of that one as well, that I think will look great with these fabrics. And I've gone for, as you can see, I've gone for lots of brights, textured, not many patterns, because I find plains textures are great, but you don't want too many patterns. Little polka dot. Yeah. So I've gone for those colours. And then what I need to do is I then need to make some decisions about what colours are going to go with my end picture. So which ones go well together. So once you've done the tricky bit and decided what fabrics you want to use, what you need to do is you need to loosely cut round your pieces, just so you've got a little bit all the way around the edge. Don't cut them exactly. And then you're going to put your piece onto the wrong side of your fabric, and you're going to heat it with an iron for about 5 to 10 seconds until it is stuck on like that. Now the reason I've done this already is because before you cut it out, you need to make sure that it is completely cool. If it's not completely cool, then the glue won't come off onto your fabric, and it won't work as well. So now it's completely cool, I can now cut all the way around using my lines as a guide. But remember, this is your design, so if you decide that actually you want to go off the lines and you want to change the shape of it, that's okay, because it's your design. You can do whatever you want. And then obviously then you need to do that for all of your pieces. If this is your first time, I would suggest that you do something really simple. Obviously I've gone a little bit more complicated, something with lots of pieces. If this is your first time, I would suggest that you do something with fewer pieces, but it is entirely up to you. So there is my first piece. Now I'm just going to grab my wool mat because I tend to find it easier to set it all out on this mat, because the wool gives it, it's a little bit rougher and it gives it a little bit of friction and it stops things from moving around quite so much. So now I'm just going to place all of my pieces on roughly where I think I want them to go. Just going to kind of roughly pop them on and just check that I'm happy with everything here. Oh, I appear to have. So once you're happy with the positioning of all of your pieces and you're happy where everything is going to go and you're happy that you don't want to change the colour of everything, you can take the backing off of your fabric. So how you do this is you just take an edge and tear it, and then you just pull it off, and it should give you a nice shiny glue area. And if it doesn't come off that easily, you haven't done it properly. So you need to go, if it doesn't come off that easily, you need to go back to the ironing board, or you haven't let it cool properly. So it should come off that easily and give you a nice kind of glue back. Oh, that was satisfying, that one. So yeah, and then you take them all off. Let me just move that rubbish out of the way. There we go. Is that all of them? There we go. So yeah, that's all of them. And then what you need to do is they are all ready to go onto your piece. But what we need to do first is prepare the fabric before we put them on. Okay, so the bag that we're going to make is we're just going to make a simple drawstring bag. So I've got 2 panels of the main fabric, which is for the front and back, and 2 panels which is going to be the lining fabric, and then I've got 4 panels which are going to be for the drawstring at the top of the panels. So I will pop all of the measurements for you down in the description box, but obviously it is just a simple drawstring bag, so you can do any measurements that you want to. So we're going to call this panel the front for now. So I'm going to put all of the other bits out of the way. And then I'm going to grab myself some of this. So this is called Stitch and Tear. It's a slightly gluey interfacing, and it will stick, but it won't stick fast to your fabric. But when you embroider on it, you can tear it off. And I like to use this because I find it just works really nicely, and my embroidery threads like it, and it doesn't make my fabric too thick, but it makes my fabric thick enough so that I can free motion without a hoop, because I am not a hoop person. So it's okay if you are, I'm not. So what I'm going to do is I need to make sure that I'm happy with the positioning of my feature. So the thing, I tend to do most things by eye, but what I do tend to do is I just fold in half my fabric and then put the halfway mark on a line that I know on my board, so I know roughly where halfway is, and then I can just do it by eye. And I'm just going to slowly, really taking my time for this bit, pop all my pieces on, because once you've ironed these on, they're on. There's no taking them off. There's no starting again. Now the horns has made him a little bit bigger than I was expecting, so I'm just going to pull him down a little bit. You also now is a decision where you need to decide whether your pieces are going to go behind as a feature or in front as a feature. And I like them like that. So now I've decided I'm going to do them both the same. I actually don't mind if one of his horns are a bit wonky. Why not? Why can't he have a wonky horn? Well, that sounded a bit odd. There we go. Tail. A little bit of thread attached there. His wing. And then his other wing. Now, you are not going to be doing this on camera. So what I suggest that you do this is you do this on your ironing board or on your ironing station, so you don't have to move it to put the heat on. I have not been that clever, so I am going to have to move mine, but that's okay. So I'm now just not entirely convinced where that piece needs to go. So this would be a good time to go back to your original drawing or your practice sheets and just check that you're happy with your positioning. And I did think it was a little bit too low down, so there you go. That's why it's always good to do a practice, so that you're happy where everything is, which I am. So as you can see, I've pressed them all down with the iron, and with a heat erasable pen I've just marked where all of the features are going to be that's going to be difficult for me to see when I get my threads out. So I've marked where his eyes are going to be, I've not marked where his little nostrils are going to be and where his little mouth's going to be. Everything else I'm going to do completely free motion. I'm going to everything else, but with features, that's what really gives your character its character. So it is quite important to plan those features out first, so you know exactly where they're going to be. Also, once you put this under the machine, it's going to be really difficult to see. So that's why it's good to mark it. And because I've given it a press, as you can see, this Stitch and Tear is kind of adhered, but not really. But you don't want it to be too heavily stuck down. You want it to be stuck down enough so it's not going to move when you free motion, but you don't want to be stuck down too much that you're not going to be able to tear it off. So we are ready now to go and free motion. So I'm over at the machine now, and I know that you're at a slightly different angle, a funny angle, but I'm hoping that this is the best angle for you to be able to see what I'm doing. So the first thing you need to do when you are setting up for free motion is to lower your feed dogs. Now you'll need to get your manual for this for your sewing machine, because each sewing machine is a little bit different. I'm working on the Janome 5060 QDC, and you need to take your table off, and at the back, so at the back here, there is a little switch. Now what I'll do is I'll take some separate pictures of this so you can see where the switch is, and you need to pull the switch all the way over. Now my feed dogs are already down, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them up for you to see. Like that, and then I'm going to bring them back down so you can all see them going down. So that's the feed dogs going down into the machine. Okay, now as you can see, I've got a plain thread in my bobbin, and I've got a metallic red thread in my threaded up through my needle. And the reason that I do that is that whatever backing I'm using, whatever colour backing I'm using, I try and match the backing in my bobbin, and then whatever colour I'm doing is in my main thread. Now, not everybody does this when they're free motioning. I find I get best results doing it that way, so that's what I do. So I'm just going to put my bobbin case on, and I'm just going to pull my threads to the back, and then I'm going to put my tray back on, because for free motioning you need as much space as you possibly can. I'm just making sure my legs are fixed, and now's the time to fiddle with everything to make sure that you're happy that everything is sturdy and stable, and then you're going to pop your work underneath. Now, this is probably going to be a bit terrifying to some of you, to just start free motioning on your piece of work. So what I suggest that you do is get yourself a little practice. Get yourself a practice piece. Okay. So once you've had a practice, you'll be ready to sew. So to start off, what you need to do is that you need to lower your needle into your work, and then you need to bring your needle back up to bring your bobbin thread up. Now, you may not want to do this, and in which case you can just tie all of your stitches at the back. Some people prefer to have them threads at the front, and some people prefer to have them at the back. But then it's just a case of allowing your machine to be free and just move your machine, your piece of work around, and you do the work rather than your machine. You need your machine set at 0 for the stitch length, and your machine needle in the middle so that you can see exactly where it is going. And because your feed dogs are down, it means that you are doing all of the work. If you move your work quickly, you will get if you move your hands slowly and your work quickly, you'll get longer stitches, and if you move your work slowly, you'll get longer stitches. So it's entirely in your hands. As you can see, I've put some decorative stitches over my fabric, and then I've also gone off the work. When you want to change your position and you want to change where you're sewing, so I'm going to show you how to do that now. And if you just put your needle down in the position that you want to sew in, and I'm just going to sew a bit, that's it. I'm just going to sew a little bit in the same place for this nostril. Then I'm going to stop, needle up, press a foot up, and then just move, because the presser foot takes the tension off the thread, and then you can move it to where you want it to go next, and then sew again, and then you can do that as many times as you want, and then just obviously you'll need to snip your threads at the end to make it all neat and tidy. So as you can see, I've swapped to the green metallic thread for this, and I forgot to tell you earlier that I'm also using a metallic needle because I find that they work best for metallic threads. So I'm just going to move to the tummy. And for this bit, I'm just going to do some kind of scales to almost represent this scaly bit, but going the other way, just to add a bit of detail. So now it's time to construct our bag. So I've finished my panels. Now I'm going to give this bag as a present. So I'm going to put this little label on that says, please look after me and yourself too. And I'm going to pop that label on the back there. And I've also got this little shiny one-off label, and it matches my metallic threads. So I'm going to pop that on there too. So now when you're constructing this bag, if you want to add labels, now's the time to do it. I'm going to turn over my back and show you how you peel off your tear off your stitch and tear. I do find it's easier if you kind of do it in little bits rather than try and get it all off in one go, but you know, sometimes it does come off easier than others. And then I tend to get a little unpick and just kind of slice into these bits and then peel them off. Now I'm going to line my bag, so it doesn't actually matter if some of this paper stays on, but it will give it a bit of a papery feel through the bag, so it might be worth a little bit of effort just peeling it all off. But as I said, just take a little unpick and a little bit of time and you can pick all of that off. So the next thing we need to do is we need to make the channels for the bag. So we're going to take our 2 strips here, we're going to put them right sides together, and we're going to sew with a centimetre seam allowance down both sides, here and here, and we need to do those for both of them. So we need to sew down here and we need to sew down here for those. And then for our lining, we're going to sew all the way around, but we're going to leave a gap. I like to leave my gaps in the side. You can leave them in the bottom if you want to, but you need to leave a gap for turning. But you need to make sure that you lock your stitches at both of the top ends, and you're going to go again centimetre. To be honest, the seam allowances for this particular make doesn't matter as long as you do the same seam allowance for everything. But whatever seam allowance you're happier with, I tend to do a centimetre, and then I'm going to go down and across and leave in a gap. And I'm going to go to my sewing machine and do that, and I'll meet you back here. So I've sewn my little drawstring casings and I've turned them the right way round, and I've sewn my lining, but I've left it the wrong way round, and I have my gap for turning. So what we need to do now is we need to fold these in half like that. And I actually quite like that they are different colours. And then we're going to bring our front and back panels back, and we're going to just set it so it's in the middle, and you should have just about a centimetre each side. If you have slightly less, that's okay. You'll just need to make your seam allowance slightly less. But I'm looking at it, actually I think it's absolutely fine. And then the same to the back panel. And I like to do them kind of side by side, one on top of each other, so that I know that I've got them all lined up beautifully. And for this bit, I like to use clips rather than pins, but I know that's personal preference. And then you're just going to sew. I tend to use my foot as a guide quite close to the edge to just baste those drawstring, and then this will become your drawstring channel. So this is attached to your bag and this will become your drawstring channel. I'm just going to get rid of that little piece of thread there because I've sewn my label on. So you're going to go across and you're going to sew there. So they're sewed and secure, and what I'm going to do now is I'm the front panel facing up and the back panel facing right sides facing. I'm going to line it all up, I'm going to clip it, and I'm going to sew all the way round. And this time you don't need to leave a gap. Obviously you do need to leave the top open, otherwise it's going to be a fairly useless bag. You can't put anything in it. So yeah, so you're going to sew all the way around there. Meet you back here in a sec. So I've sewn up my bag and I've turned it the right way round, but I'm keeping my little drawstring cases, these little flappy bits pointing down, and then we're going to get our lining and we're going to pop our drawstring bag into our lining like so. And this is the reason why I like using these in the side, because I find that I can make it go in nice and neatly with using the side hole. I mean, I guess you could do that from the bottom as well, but you tend to like yank it down if you do the bottom, whereas the side one, it tends to just sit much more naturally. And then using some clips or pins and making sure that your seams are open. You need to line up your seams. I'm hoping that you can see this here. Line up your seams and clip all the way round, and then sew all the way round using your 1 centimetre seam allowance. And I have noticed that my linen kind of blend fabric that I'm using, because it's got this lurex in, is fraying a lot. So I may run mine through the overlocker, but you can finish your seams however you want to finish them. But I may just do that because I'm thinking if I don't, it may just fray and fray and fray. But you just need to sew all the way around the outside, because you're going to turn it through using this hole here. So it's all sewn up and I've turned it the right way round, and I have closed up my side seam. Oh, look at that, it looks great inside. Even if I do say so myself. And then the last thing I need to do is put my drawstrings in. So I've taken my drawstring, and my rule of thumb is the drawstring needs to be 4 times the length of one of these drawstring channels, and you need 2 of those, because obviously it depends on the size that you're making. And then I'm going to use this little tool, which is like a bendy plastic needle, if you like, with the large holes in the end, and I'm going to put my drawstring through, and then it just zips all the way through. Look at that. And then back through. That's at the other side, and push it through. And then when you pull it through, I find I need to take out and then hold the ends, because otherwise when you put it through, sometimes you take the drawstring through as well. So that's one side, and then you do exactly the same the other side. And I don't know about you, but I think this is much quicker and simpler than fiddling about with bodkins or with what's the word, safety pins. So yeah, there we go, last one. Oh, I put them both in the same way. I need to go in this way. I've done that one in this way, and I need to go the other one in the other way. So that they are poking out of that side. So I need to go in this way. Sorry about that. Got so excited threading it through that I took it through the wrong way. That's me all over, that is, I'm afraid. I do just get overexcited sometimes. It's all part of the fun. And as I said, if you just hold on to your string while you pull out that, and then when you do a gentle tug, it'll all come together. Now, obviously, you can make these shorter, you can make them longer. It's entirely up to you. I tend to like them to be a bit longer, because what I like to do is I like to add charms onto the end of mine, just to add that extra effect. or I sometimes like to plait them and do different things to the ends. So it's entirely up to you. You could put beads on the end to finish them. But there you go. There's the bag.